Okay, we're going to talk about Venn diagrams today, which are a visual way of displaying relationships between two sets, or maybe three sets, however many circles you have, okay? So a type of Venn diagram, we have a couple. The first one represents all, always, every, whenever you see those words, okay? So all elements of P are also all elements of Q. Because if you look, P is encircled in Q. So anything in P has to be in Q. All right, and that's what we would write. All elements of P are elements of Q. Okay? Okay. So that's a all, always, every. When we have some or sometimes, some elements of P and sometimes elements of Q will be in common, okay? We have the whole P or Q here, because we have P or we have Q. All right. And then the inside is going to be what's in common. That'll be P and Q. So if you think about your Venn diagram, the middle is going to be what's in common. They have to both be in common to be an and. All right, then your outsides, that's your or. Okay. All right. Some elements of P are elements of Q. Then finally, if we have no elements in common, never, no, or none, if you think about these circles, they don't overlap at all, or they don't touch at all. There is no relationship between P and Q, or if you want to think of it as they have nothing in common. All right? So let's look through those words, keywords, and draw Venn diagrams to represent the statements, okay? So some students who take chorus also take band. What are your two subjects there? Well, we have chorus and band. So if we have a sum, you're going to want some kind of intersection there. All right, so that would look like your middle Venn diagram. And one of your circles would be chorus. One of your circles would be band. And the ones that have them in common would go in the middle. But that's all we're trying to do here. Okay, so pick one of the Venn diagrams and label it. All right, what about 2? No perfect squares are prime numbers. So I see no, and then my two subjects. All right, well, perfect square, if you think about that, has to be composite, cannot be prime. So they don't have anything in common. Okay. There we go. That's a Venn diagram to represent that statement. All right, next. Numbers divisible by 6 are always divisible by 3. So my keyword there is always. All right, and a number divisible by 6 is always going to be divisible by 3, okay? So what goes on the inside, divisible by 6, will always be divisible by 3, okay? So your inner circle should be by 6. The opposite wouldn't be true, right? Okay, so number 4, every natural number is a whole number. Same idea there. Okay, so every number, natural number, is a whole number. Okay. All right, couple more. Some vertical angles are complementary. And that makes sense. If they were both 45, then they would add up to 90, right? So we have vertical angles and complementary. And sum was our keyword there. Told us how to write the Venn diagram. Okay? Now, irrational numbers are never rational. They're totally opposite. So they need to not touch. All right, so irrational and then rational. However you wanted to label these circles is fine. You could draw arrows, you could write on the inside, you could write on the outside, as long as it's obvious to you. Okay? So now we're talking about shading the region on the Venn diagram. So just remember, the one that kind of looks like an A, that's and. That's going to be your intersection. All right, your other sign, the V, is an or, and this isn't like the perfect mathematical term, but I shade outside the intersection for or. Okay? And you'll see more of those later, because 7 is just Q. So shade Q, well, that's going to be this entire circle there. All right, P and Q. So what's in common with P and Q is just their intersection, because remember, and they both have to be in common. Okay, P and Q. All right, P or Q. Now that can be all of P or all of Q, right? So what ends up happening is if I shade all of P or all of Q, I'm really shading the entire thing, okay? So that's the outsides including the middle. So all of P or all of Q. All right. And when you think about not, you need to think about just shading outside of Q. All right, so I have P. I'm gonna do that in one color. So I'm gonna scribble P in green, just lightly. Then I have not Q. So I want something that's not Q, meaning not that circle, everywhere else, including outside. Okay, so not Q will be this entire thing. All right, however, we want P and not Q. So my answer is going to be yellow. Where do the two overlap? On this side of P, okay? So we want P and not Q. And means they both have to be in common. Think about the fact that they both had to be true to make a truth value statement of true, right? So we've got to see both of our colors here are the overlapping part, okay? And just to, if we go back over that for the and, for number 8, so if I went P, like if I didn't tell you, let's shade P in green and Q. I'm gonna shade Q in purple. You can just watch this if you want. You don't have to do the whole thing. Where do they overlap? That is the and. I probably should have shown you that first instead of just telling you it's there. That's why you only shade the middle or the intersection for and, because that's the only place I have the two colors. Okay? All right, so we're going to use a compound statement to describe these diagrams here. So we're kind of putting everything together. All right, remember, a compound statement is if P, then Q. So you need your if and you need a then. And obviously P would be one subject, Q would be the other. Okay, so if you look at 11, angles that measure 60 degrees is inside the acute angle. So if you look back, that looks like an all, always, every, right? So, sorry, that's not what we're doing. We're doing a conditional, sorry. So you want to say if an angle measures 60 degrees, then it is acute. Okay? So, sorry, I was mixing the two up. This is just making an if-then statement. All right, so if an angle is 60 degrees, then it is acute. Okay, same idea with 12. If an animal is a beagle, then it is a dog. And this is not the only way to say these statements. Oops, I was writing while thinking. If an animal is a dog, then is a beagle then it is a dog. Okay, this is not the only way to say this and still represent the Venn diagram. It's just one way. Okay? By the way, you need to have these written down. If I'm writing them, you should write it too. All right, so I don't want to see this whole back blank. All right, number 13, we have volleyball and piano lessons, and then we have shaded on the inside, okay? Now, can we really make a if P then Q for that one? Not really. This one with the shading, these are all going to be the some, always, none, sometimes, never, okay? Those shaded ones are going to be these words at the top, okay? So what would represent this intersection? That would be a some or sometimes. Okay, in this case, I'm going to say some people who play volleyball also take piano lessons. Okay, I will stop the video and we'll finish the rest.